Growing up, my dad was the family's go-to driver. My mum never got behind the wheel, so it was always him chauffeuring me to school, doctor's visits, or friends' houses. Without exception, he'd turn every trip into a marathon journey, taking the most convoluted paths imaginable. As a kid, this drove me up the wall. We lived in a small town where most places were a quick 15 to 20-minute drive, yet my dad somehow transformed these into 40-minute odysseys. He'd veer onto obscure side streets, detour through unfamiliar back roads, or decide we absolutely had to swing by the river, even though it was nowhere near our destination. I'd sit in the passenger seat, irritation bubbling, demanding to know why we couldn't just take the straightforward route like other parents did. He'd toss out the flimsiest excuses. This road had fewer cars, it didn't, or he wanted to scope out a new part of town, or he swore he spotted an interesting cloud formation in this direction. They were such absurd reasons, and I wasn't buying any of them. By the time I hit middle school, I was mortified by it. When friends asked why I was always the last to show up, I'd groan, my dad and his ridiculous routes, and they'd chuckle, nodding in solidarity. I started pleading with my mum to talk some sense into him, but she'd just give me a knowing smile and say, "That's just how your father is?" My frustration peaked when I was 15 and had my first big crush on a guy named Lucas. We planned to meet some friends at the mall, and I was a nervous wreck, spending hours picking out the perfect outfit. I begged my dad to take the direct route so I wouldn't be late. He promised he would, but halfway there, he made a sudden turn off the main road. I was livid. I snapped, asking what on earth he was doing, and he muttered something about wanting to show me a building with unique brickwork. I sat there, arms folded, refusing to even glance at the dumb building. I ended up 20 minutes late to meet Lucas and our friends, so humiliated I could barely enjoy the day. Once I got my driver's license at 16, I insisted on driving myself everywhere to avoid those infuriating, meandering trips. Over time, our relationship grew a bit strained. Not angry, just distant. We lived under the same roof but moved in separate spheres. Looking back, I think those lost car rides hit him harder than I realised. Fast forward to last month. I'm 25 now, living a couple of hours from my hometown. While visiting my parents, I was helping my mum sort through old storage boxes when I stumbled across a tattered journal from when I was about 8. Curious, I opened it and found an entry about one of our weekend drives. Dad took me on a long drive today. We saw a fox in an old creepy shed. He let me choose the radio station, and I played my favourite song 3 times in a row. Best day ever. Reading that, I was flooded with memories of how much I used to love those drives when I was little, before I cared about schedules or what others thought. I kept flipping through the journal, finding page after page filled with details about our drives, notes about quirky buildings we passed, animals we spotted, songs we belted out, or random chats we had. That evening at dinner, I casually asked my dad why he always took those winding routes when I was younger. He seemed caught off guard, then a little sheepish. After a pause, he explained that when I was really young, I'd get upset when our drives ended because I loved them so much. So he started stretching them out, finding new paths and interesting sights to make our time together last. Even as I got older and started complaining, he couldn't let go of that ritual. It was his way of keeping us close, just the two of us, no interruptions, sharing little moments and adventures. He admitted he knew I was frustrated as a teenager, but held out hope that I'd one day look back fondly on those times. All those years, I thought he was being stubborn or clueless, but he was actually clinging to something special we'd shared, something I'd once cherished. The next day, I asked if he wanted to take a drive. His eyes lit up in a way I hadn't seen in ages. We took the long way, of course, and when we finally headed back, I thanked him for all those extended drives over the years. He just nodded and said he'd always cherished that time with me, even when I was a grumpy teen. Then he said he was proud of the person I'd become, and